All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the next steps in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences webinar. My name is David Raitan. I'm an academic advisor within the college, and this evening I'm joined by two other academic advisors. In addition to joined by two other academic advisors, we will have um, a couple of our peer advisors join us for a student panel later this evening so that you can ask them questions directly about their student experience, life at OSU, and things like that. And so we're really excited to have them join us this evening here. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to our two co-hosts this evening, Aaron and Ainsley.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Ainsley, and Aaron and I will introduce ourselves more in a moment. But you are currently attending the Next Steps presentation for the College of Public Health and Human Sciences. And this will help you get prepared and set up for attending our virtual starts that we're going to be hosting this summer. So to start off with, we can do some introductions. So speaking today is Ainsley Wilson Graydon, who I am on the the right side of the screen. And so I am an academic advisor in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences. Later during this presentation, you'll also hear from Erin Heim, who's on the left-hand side of the screen, who is our head advisor in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences. She'll be introducing and working with the peers through the peer panel. Alrighty, so next steps. So this presentation is to prepare you for START. So this slide is a little complicated looking because it walks you through the steps, but all of these are going to be detailed in the next slides. The larger categories are paying your advanced tuition deposit, registering for START, completing the START orientation, and then things for you to think about in order to prepare for START, which is kind of a sideways thing for you to do over the next few weeks or months as you're considering and while you're waiting for START to begin. And then at the end of this presentation, we have some information that we unfortunately don't have time to go over, but that will be there for you when we send you this presentation so that you can go over those things on your own time and click on the links for more information. Alrighty, so the first thing that you need to do to get started at OSU is to confirm your enrollment. So this has been changing due to COVID-19. And so OSU has now changed the confirmation deadline to September 1st, 2020. This is when you need to make a final decision about whether or not to attend OSU in the fall. Again, because of COVID-19, we've relaxed the policy on waiving deposits. And so if you are experiencing any financial difficulty and it's preventing you from confirming your enrollment and paying your advanced tuition deposit, you can request a deposit waiver using the link that's attached here. Typically, this would be for folks in very specific situations, but we have opened it up now for anyone who's experiencing financial difficulty, since we know that there are a lot of different circumstances that folks are experiencing right now. OSU is asking that all first years freshmen who are admitted for fall, we want them to declare their intent to enroll at OSU by June 1st. So the difference between the June 1st and the September 1st deadline is that by June 1st, you need to say, yes, I am intending to enroll. Here is my deposit. But then you have until September 1st to change your mind and request a refund. Because again, we know that there might be some significant changes in your life between June and September. So we want to give you the ability to adjust as needed. So while we're asking for you to pay your advanced tuition deposit by June 1st, you would be able to request a refund and let OSU know that you are no longer planning on attending before September 1st. So to confirm your enrollment, you have to pay what is called the advanced tuition deposit, or the ATD. This is a $200 payment that all domestic undergraduate students make. This isn't a fee, it is an advanced tuition deposit. And so this goes towards your tuition once you register for classes. There are exemptions for students who are service members or veterans, and then other qualifying factors, in addition to the financial piece that we discussed in the previous slide. So there is going to be more information on who is exempt if you use this advanced tuition deposit information link that's on the PowerPoint once you get it. And you do have to pay your advanced tuition deposit in order to register for START, which is why we have that gap between June 1st and September 1st, because you do need to pay it to register for START, but then that gives you some time to make your final decision. So once you've paid your ATD, you can now register for START. So START is Oregon State University's new student orientation and advising program. START has specific programs for first year and transfer students. So even if this is not your first experience with college, we have an orientation designed for you. Normally this is held on campus, but due to COVID-19, we're offering it in a virtual format via Canvas. Canvas is OSU's online learning platform, which if you've used something like Moodle or Blackboard, it's similar. It will walk you through different modules where you'll get to go through videos or write information about what you're looking forward to at OSU, and it'll give you a ton of good information. START this year was going to consist of 3 modules. There will be a pre-advising module, an advising and course registration module, and then a post-advising module, which will be after you've talked with your academic advisor. All of these modules are going to have opportunities for you to engage with other students. You will see that START registration opens May 18th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, so it is not currently open. Once you have paid your ATD, which is your advanced tuition deposit, and once START registration opens on May 18th, you will be able to go in and to register for START, which will start that process of those 3 modules. So part of the pre-advising module for START is going to be to activate your ONID account. Your ONID is your OSU username. It's usually a combination of your first and your last name, and depending on your name, it might contain a number. For example, depending on what information about me you're seeing, my name is Ainsley Wilson Graydon. My ONID is Wilso Ain. It's like this combination of your first and last name. You use this ONID to log into your email, to log into Canvas, and for most OSU systems. So if you are planning on applying to live on campus, if you are adding money to your meal card, if you are again, sending an email, you're going to use your ONID. Another part of the pre-advising module is for you to take the ALEKS math placement test. As part of your baccalaureate core, you need to take a college level math course. OSU's baccalaureate core is our general education requirements. And so all OSU students need to take a minimum of Math 105 or Math 111 to meet this baccalaureate core requirement. Depending on your major, you may be required to take a higher level math course. We do have a slide later that we're not going over tonight that has more information about which math class you need for which major. The ALEKS placement test is an online test and it's free for students. You have up to 5 attempts in ALEKS in order to get the score that you need to take the math class that you're looking to take. In between each retake, you do need to complete learning modules, which will help you improve your score so that you can get closer to that math class you need to take. We do ask that all first-year students take the ALEKS math placement test, even if you have earned college-level credit for math, whether that was at a community college, through CLEP, through AP or IB exams. Any transfer or post-bac students who do not have transfer credit for a college-level math course must take the ALEKS math placement test. If you are not sure about whether you have a college-level math course, I would recommend taking the ALEKS math placement test to ensure that you're able to register. Taking it does no harm if you have the transfer credit, but taking it will definitely make sure you're able to register when you work with your advisor. So after completing the pre-advising module and START, you move on to the advising and course registration module and the post-advising module. So for the advising and course registration module, you will be directed to a College of Public Health and Human Sciences module where you'll learn more about your college and your major. You'll schedule a one-on-one virtual advising appointment with your advisor, and you'll be able to register for fall classes. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a series of photos. These are of all of our advisors in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences. And so you'll be meeting with one of us, and you'll be talking through your major, which classes to take, and we might be able to look at some transfer credits or things like that, depending on what your situation is and whether you're bringing any of those into OSU with you. For the post-advising module, this will be after you have met with your advisor and completed your registration. You will be connected with other OSU students and START leaders, and you'll also be able to learn more about housing, activities on OSU's campus, OSU resources, and everything else that there is to know about what happens at OSU and what's here for you. Okay. So while you're waiting for START to begin, you can do a couple of things. Specifically, if you have any transcripts or transfer credit, please make sure to send them to the Office of Admissions. This would include your high school transcript or your GED, any college or community college transcripts, any AP, CLEP, IB, or GCE scores, and then any military education credits. If you have a degree from another institution, please make sure to send that transcript after your degree is conferred. For example, if you have an Associates of Arts of Oregon transfer, you will want to make sure to send that transcript after your community college has confirmed your degree, because otherwise you're going to have to send another one. So make sure all those grades are final before you send that transcript. Other things you can do to prepare is to make sure that you have applied for financial aid. If you are planning to use federal financial aid, which would be grants or loans, you would need to complete the 2020 to 2021 FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it is routed directly to OSU to tell you what your financial aid package would look like. Another thing that you can do is that you can look at and apply for prospective student scholarships through the college or department scholarships, or through OSU's new scholarship system, which is called OSU Scholar Dollars. And we do have a link there that talks about the different prospective student scholarships that are available for students who have not previously attended OSU. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure to cover was COVID-19. This situation is really impacting folks all across the US and all across the world. And so we wanted to acknowledge that. Because of COVID-19, situations are changing, sometimes rapidly. And so we have provided this link for the Office of Admissions, and they specifically have a website for hot topics related to the Office of Admissions and COVID-19 interruptions. please make sure that you are reviewing this link for the most up-to-date information, which could include the date that your ATD must be paid, the date that you can request a refund, the date that START opens or has to be completed, and any other information about fall classes and how those are going to be presented to students, resources you'll be able to access in fall, and all sorts of other great information. So next up, we're going to transition over to Erin, who is going to introduce you all to the peers so that you can hear more from them about what it's like to be a student in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences.
All right, thanks, Ainsley. Hi, everybody. My name is Erin Heim, and I'm the head advisor in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences. We have some of our fantastic peer advisors here with us to share what it's like for them being a student at OSU. First off is Christina, and so she is joining us. She has come all the way from Sacramento, California. She is studying kinesiology, and she's doing a pre-therapy and allied health option in pre-physical therapy. And actually all of our panelists are majoring in kinesiology and pursuing a pre-therapy and allied health direction. And then we have Julian, who's from Denver, as you can see, and Jillian right here from Salem. And as you can see, they have varied interests and they have varied kind of specialty areas, but they're all students at Oregon State. They're all students in the College of Public Health and Human Sciences, and they're all excellent resources for any questions that you might have. So I think we're going to switch over to a video so that you all can see their lovely faces. And if you have questions, you can just go ahead and pop those into that chat box for them. And as you guys are maybe working on those questions, I was just gonna, oh, wait, there's one right there. So Gina is, we have somebody who's asking, what classes do you recommend we take? It's a big question.
That's like a hard one just because OSU does a really great job of offering a large variety of classes that you can take. Something for me that was helpful was within our college, there are certain classes that OSU requires you to take, but also can count towards your degree in like a specific class requirement. So I would check out those classes once you've like picked your major and you're confident there, and just take a look at those major sheets and see what classes can count for both, because that was a really awesome way to sort of get some credits taken care of that were required by OSU, but also get some credits taken care of that are required by your major. But also with the general education classes you have to take through OSU, like explore all the options. I took a Native American flute class. I've had friends who have taken like hiking classes or backpacking classes, and there are a lot of really cool options offered. So that's like my recommendation, is just to like really look into what OSU has to offer, because there's so many options.
Yeah, I can add on to that too. So your first year, you might take some backcore courses. So those are just courses that every single undergraduate at OSU has to take. So we have really big lists of those that you can go through online. And so it might be, if you want to get ahead of the game, you certainly don't have to, but you can look through those and start to see which ones might sound interesting. And then when you go meet with your advisor during START or during the school year, you can already have that in your head about what classes you might like to take.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, a lot of times in your first couple years, it's hard to get into your major specific classes. So I liked what Jillian brought up about those physical activity courses, because we do have a lot of really cool options for that. And a lot of students in our college really appreciate those kind of opportunities. So.
Excellent, thank you. If folks have more questions, keep them coming. In the meantime, I have one more for you all. What is dorm life like? What should students expect?
I guess we can just keep the same order going. To me, dorm life was really fun. I chose to do the sort of like matching service that OSU offers for finding a roommate. So I just entered my interests, like when I like to sleep, when I like to be awake, noise levels, things like that, just preferences. And OSU gave me like a list of people that sort of match those preferences. And I just met a person that I was like, she seems really cool. And we ended up being in the same major, and like we still lived together 4 years later. So it worked really well. It was really fun to me. I think the biggest thing with dorm life that I learned was you get what you put into it. So when we first moved into the dorms, we always had our door shut, and we were very like, we kept to ourselves. And then we noticed that a bunch of people were like hanging out in the like communal area. And we were like, how do they already know each other? And we didn't want to like barge in. So we just decided to like open our door one day while we were doing stuff like in our room. We were just doing homework and hanging out. And we like kept our door open. And that actually like people started like poking in and saying hi. And that was actually how we made a lot of our friends in the dorms. And we still talk to a lot of them. So I think like going for it and being social right off the bat is a really great opportunity in the dorms. But if you want privacy and you want your door shut, it's really easy to get privacy as well.
Yeah, I can go next. So I lived in the honors college dorm my freshman year, West Hall, and it was a really great experience. Just like Jillian, I still live with my freshman year roommates. We've lived together. I'm a senior now, so we've lived together all 4 years, and it just worked out really well. I also want to echo what Jillian said, just do your best to talk to other people in your dorm. If other people are hanging out in the lounge, it might be scary to just go in there and introduce yourself, but it'll really pay off because you can still, be friends with them later during your years, and you might run into them in classes and stuff.
I think, yeah, just to echo what they said, it's you make the most of it when you can. And for me, I was an out-of-state student, so I didn't know anybody coming to Oregon State, and that was a really great way to just meet people. And I'm still best friends with a lot of the people that I met when I lived in Callahan. So yeah.
So we have 2 questions here from folks about kind of getting involved. And one of them, they're asking specifically about how to get involved with research on campus. And then another person here is asking about getting specifically involved with impact. So I don't know if one of you wants to take, or one of you is more interested in talking about impact, or one of you is more interested in talking about research.
Yeah, I can do the research one. I've also done
Awesome.
impact, but I can let Julianne do the impact one. Yeah, so for research, so I've been involved in research all of my 4 years here. I started my freshman year. And honestly, the easiest way to get involved with research is just to go to the Oregon State website and just look up. We have a whole list of every single research lab, research program, faculty members that run their own research, like have their own labs. And so you can just look at some of the projects the faculty members are doing and find some that look interesting to you, and just reach out to those faculty members and send them an email just saying, hey, your research looks awesome. I'd love to have a meeting with you and get some more information about how I could get involved. And you might not always get a response, but a lot of times you will. Like, faculty really want to share their knowledge with you. They love to see you taking an interest in their research. And so in my opinion, that's the easiest and best way to get involved in research, but there's certainly other ways too.
Yeah, and then to just touch on the impact side of it, so I participated in impact last year for a term and really loved it. It's basically just you go in and work with kids in the community who have some disabilities, and just kind of help them get more physically active and in a social atmosphere with all their friends. And you swim with them, and then you also do like gym time with them and play fun games and stuff like that. And it's a really cool program. It can count for experiential learning, which is a really big thing in our college that you'll hear a lot about, and it's really easy to get involved in. Their applications are usually, there's some in the women's building, which is on campus where our office is housed, and then they also have applications online once the time rolls around.
Okay, and then we have somebody asking about how many credits of research are required. And really, it's 0 credits of research are required, but there are opportunities to fulfill experiential learning requirements through research. So I don't know if somebody maybe wants to touch on experiential learning and maybe how research could fit into that.
Sure, I can talk about it. So I did use, so you have to get 3 experiential learning credits for the kinesiology major, and I used all 3 of those credits were through research. And so I just did like 1 credit for a couple different terms, but you can totally do more than that if you want. You do just pay by credit at Oregon State, and so a lot of people choose just to continue participating in research, but just on a volunteer basis. Or sometimes you can get paid for it. But if you do decide to take it for the credit, you do have to pay for it. So it's just something to keep in mind.
So yeah, I was going to say that there is an experiential learning requirement for the kinesiology degree, but the other degrees don't have that necessarily required experiential learning. Our other degrees will, like HDFS, Human Development and Family Sciences, and Public Health, will have internship requirements, whereas kinesiology does have experiential learning requirements, and then nutrition doesn't necessarily have those same requirements of the experiential learning, or they have a smaller kind of research or internship component depending on which option within nutrition you do. So if you want more information, please contact us afterwards if that was a little bit confusing. We have another question here. Do any of you know anyone who has done the kinesiology study abroad in Sydney?
Yeah, one of my really good friends, Mary, I don't know, I'm dropping names. One of my really good friends did Sydney, Australia last year, actually. And so she did it for their fall semester. The Sydney program is a semester program, while OSU is a quarter program. So she left in August and came back in January. And she talks about the experience all the time, about how amazing it was, how gorgeous Australia is. The credits transferred really easily for her. She said, like, while there was a slight delay in getting them to send her transcripts back to OSU, once it was there, like, everything she took there transferred perfectly into the kinesiology degree here. So she said there were really no hiccups. And she's like, she always talks about how she wishes she could go twice because it was so amazing. And a lot of people do like to go for the fall semester, just because when it's our winter, it's their summer. So they have like some of their nicest weather around like October through January. So yeah.
Okay, and then we have a question. What was the hardest class you took? Or maybe it's the hardest series of courses you took.
Yeah, so for me and a lot of the people going into physical therapy, it was definitely physics. Just because, I mean, it's challenging. It's a lot of work. It's more math focused than really many of our other courses. So yeah, it was just challenging, but luckily they make it really realistic to get pretty good grades in the class as long as you're putting in effort and trying your hardest. Going to office hours and communicating with the students that are trying to help you. There's so many resources to help you. And so as long as you're putting in the effort, you're going to get a good grade in the class. But you do have to work pretty hard for it. So that was my challenging class.
For me, it's definitely physics right now, just because I'm taking it. Like, I have an exam in it tomorrow night that I've been studying for all day. But I think that one of the main things with physics that makes it more challenging is because it's not a class that everyone like gets excited about. Because like you think about anatomy and physiology and learning about like children's education, things like that, classes that you get a little bit more excited about just in our major. And I think that's what makes physics a little bit more challenging. But with all of our classes that around OSU that are considered more intensive courses, they work really hard to have recitations where you meet in a smaller group with a TA, like a structured time each week. They have learning assistants within the classroom, and that's students that have taken the class and meet weekly with the professors, and they sort of sit in on the class, and whenever you have questions, they can get to you if the professor can't, just because sometimes in lectures it's hard for the professors to get to every question. And so OSU has done a really good job of counteracting some of the difficulties that come with hard classes here on campus.
I have yet to take physics. I'll be taking that this next year. But for me, I took biomechanics this past year, which is pretty physics-based, and so I struggled in that one a lot. But my suggestion for any hard classes that you have is to really try and find like a core group of people that you can study work with and work through the material with, because that really is what saved me in biomechanics this year. So, yeah.
All right, you've given everyone something to look forward to. Thank you. So we have a question here. What is the benefit of registering for START early? And I would say it's the sooner you register for START and go through the START process, the sooner you can register for classes before the classes fill up. So I don't know if you all have other thoughts on what you think are benefits of registering for START early.
Yeah, if you read, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Christina. Go ahead, Christina.
I was just going to say, yeah, the earlier you register and get in to register for your classes, if you don't want to take 8 a.m.s, then register earlier, and all the best times for all your classes will still be available.
Yeah, that's really my bit of information there. Is like the later the START session, it's a little bit more difficult to get into the like main times of classes that are like at like 10 a.m. or at noon or at 2 p.m. Those classes are going to be the first ones to fill up. And OSU does, on like the larger courses or like a lot of the main required courses of everyone at Oregon State, they do this thing where they hold a certain amount of seats that don't open up until each START session. So there's certain classes where you're pretty much like you still have a chance of getting into that class. It just might not be at the time you want.
I don't have anything else to add. You guys summed it up really well.
So I have a question. How many credits do you think is a manageable amount without overloading yourself? And does that vary by year or term or course difficulty?
It definitely varies by courses that you're taking. So within my first year, I was managing, sorry, my dog is like scratching at my leg right now. I was managing I was doing like 17 credits initially, my first and second year, almost every term, and definitely managing. And then I was like, why am I doing this? And stopped. And once I got into like my junior and senior year and I got into a lot more intense higher level courses, I started taking 12 credits a term, and that was what I needed to manage it. And I mean, this term I'm only taking like 10 credits, but physics can definitely take up a majority of those credits. So it really depends on the courses that you're taking. Sometimes courses will overlap really well and it's easy to take them on top of each other just because what you're learning in each one will sort of overlap, and you can learn from each class and study some of the same subjects, just one's a little bit more in depth on one area versus another. But yeah, I think it just really depends on the course, and it depends on how you work as a student. We have a peer advisor who's taking like 20 credits this term just because she's really determined to graduate. So she's ready to put in that time. But if if school 24/7 doesn't sound as exciting to you, like go for 12, 15 credits. That's okay.
Yeah, I would just say it really varies person by person a lot, what you manage best. So for me, I've always found that 14 to 16 credits a term works pretty well. But it really depends on what you're doing outside of school too. If you know you're going to have to be working, 20 to 40 hours a week outside of school, then definitely take less credits so you can, make that manageable for you. It really depends on what you have going on in your life and just yourself as a student and what works best for you.
I am with Christina. I've pretty much hovered around the 14 to 16 credits a term, and is definitely manageable. The other thing I would say to consider is just that coming to college is a big transition. And so a lot of students will choose to take like lower credits like first term, just to kind of get in the swing of things and then figure out how they manage college course loads and then slowly start to add up. So that could be something that you want to consider. But like they said, it really just comes down to the type of learner you are. And you know that better than anyone. So,
And you all touched on a couple of things that are related to this next question, but how do you balance extracurriculars, work, social life, school, all of that? How do you do it all?
I got a planner. I had never used a planner before, but I ended up getting one of those, and it's my best friend, just because it's like ahead of time when I'm free. I can write down due dates. I can write down reminders to myself that I have a due date coming up, just because sometimes when, like when you're working late nights, sometimes you can forget that you might have an assignment due that night, and then you get off at 11 p.m. and you have an hour to do it. And so having those reminders in my planner really helped me with making sure, like, before I went to work, I covered this base, or before I had a meeting with my sorority, I knew I needed to finish something else. Or if I knew I had a busy weekend with volunteering, I knew that most of the homework I used to save for Sundays needed to get done more like Friday. And so for me, that balancing act was just all about organization. There are so many students who are involved in so many aspects of OSU and handle it with grace. And so it's just, as long as you can organize it, I highly suggest being involved in as many extracurriculars as you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I would add on to that. Just kind of what I said for the last one too. It really just depends on the person. Some people, like for me personally, I love being busy. And so that makes me happy. It makes me feel accomplished. And so I do try to schedule a lot of different extracurriculars. And I've just been involved with a lot of different things here on campus. But some people really prefer to just choose one or two main things and just dive really deeply into those. And that's great too. It just really depends on your personality and what makes you feel fulfilled and accomplished. Yeah, that's what I say. Organization, of course, is always great, but it really depends on you. Yeah.
yeah, kind of like Jillian, I started using a planner way more frequently once I came to college because there was a lot more that you have on your plate and that you want to balance. So I take like a couple minutes every Sunday and just go through the week, and that way I kind of plan out weekly. The other thing that I tell students a lot is to go to the Academic Success Center. They have a lot of really great resources for you to plan out your schedule school-wise, and then that makes it a lot easier to plan out like social activities and extracurriculars. So that's also a really good resource for you guys to check out.
Okay, and I think this is our last question here. Someone has asked, do a lot of pre-allied health classes overlap with the kinesiology major required classes?
Yeah, when it comes down to it, there's one of the nice things with the kinesiology major is that there's a section called Kinesiology Beyond the Core, and that is pretty much a chunk of credits that OSU and the College of Public Health has a group of classes that cover the requirements for it. You just get to pick which classes you do take. So while there's a large bowl of classes, you can sort of pick the ones that you think are more interesting to you. And generally with the pre-therapy and allied health edition, there are classes that will be in your option that just sort of take into that bowl and they say, okay, you actually need to take these ones. And so that was really helpful. The option does, depending on your track, it does add certain classes. So pre-med has to take a couple more science credits, some more like biology, organic chemistry, same with like physician's assistant, things like that. So it does vary by your track, but overall there's a good chunk of classes that align really well with the major since it is just an addition to the major.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. It works really well. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Good job, Joe.
All right. I believe that is the end of our allotted time for the questions from our peer advisors. But if you do have more questions, please feel free to check out our website, the Oregon State PHHS website. We do have our peer advisors on there. You can call them at our 541-737-8900 number, or David has put the website in the chat. We also have a chat function with the Teams app. There's a Microsoft Teams app where our peer advisors are on there if you have questions you want to ask. So please check us out. And I think we're gonna transition back to Ainsley to close us out here.
Thank you, Erin. Alrighty, so we're just going to do a quick wrap up. Erin, would you mind getting to that wrap up slide for me? But while we're getting to that slide, if you have any questions that you don't feel like were answered, or if you have anything that you want us to try to answer in the next few minutes, please feel free to put it in the chat. You will be receiving this presentation. And so you will have our contact information. Erin and I are both here on the screen, as well as information about the peer advisors. And then that blue link that says PHHS Peer Advisors is actually going to link you to the website that has all of the information about their majors and their different interest areas. Alrighty, so if no one has any questions, you can feel free to go ahead and leave the meeting when you're ready. If you have any questions, please feel free to hang out and chat with us using the chat function. We will hang out for a few more minutes and see what folks need. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we hope to see you here at OSU starting in the fall, if that's what works for you. And please let us know if you have any questions about the College of Public Health and Human Sciences.